Good evening and welcome back to our day 2 review of the Cheltenham Festival. We're still delighted to have our special guest, Mackay, with us tonight. And John and Ian, Matty's still ducked it because of Constitution Hill, basically. I'm sure he'll be back for day 3 and 4. Okay, so getting straight into the action and the Ballymore, Sir Gerhard, well talked about, obviously mentioned lots on this channel. John, what were your thoughts?
First thought is finally a winner that we put up. So I thought it was a pretty cosy winner. In all fairness, I think the performance has been a little bit underrated as well. He seems to have been sort of forgotten about with all the other great performances. But I thought he jumped brilliantly. He travelled well enough. He did pull a little bit early on in the race, but he did settle then. And the way he just sort of moved through the race, he started off sort of right at the rear, and then he pulled his way into sort of midfield, and then took it up at the perfect time. I thought he won. He was a really, really good winner. I'm looking forward to seeing him again. Three Strike Life ran a really good race in second. I just do feel that over hurdles, he sort of may find one too good in these good Grade 1 races, but hopefully you can pick one up somewhere along the line. And next season chasing, it'll be a decent sort. The other thing really that took out the race was Journey With Me getting up after him being down on the floor at the last. That was right in front of us, and it wasn't a very nice sight. But then we saw his ears prick above the cover in there, and he was up, and they were throwing water over him, and he was fine. So I think it was just a tired fall really, because he seemed to hurdle the fence okay, and just his landing gear didn't come out, which obviously happened a few times this week. But I think he'll be another one to take out the race going forward, 3 mile chasing next year. But yeah, Sir Gerhard, very good, very impressive. It was a good start to my Wednesday.
A good choice of race in the end.
Yeah, well, yeah. We were all saying Supreme and take on the others, but obviously Willie knows better than me.
Similar, Ian?
Yeah, very similar. So I was talking from my pocket when I wanted Dysart to come here, but equally, I had back to Gerhard just in case. But winner by 3.5 lengths. Won the race by 2 out, and say after unfortunate with Journey With Me falling, and that was the race all done and dusted. So to echo what John said about 3 Strike Life, good run by Davey, kept on. I think was probably the second best horse in the race, but just to unfortunately come up against Sir Gerhard. I'd be quite interested to see what you guys think about next season, with Sir Gerhard being 7 as he is now, going to be 8, going at 2.5 miles. Do you think it potentially could go Turners and then Gold Cup? Or, because I've heard different stories, maybe going Champion Hurdle or dropping down. But I think it'd be better off going to the Turners myself, but not sure what you guys think.
Well, immediately after the race, Willie said he could be a Champion Hurdle horse next season. But
yeah,
that's what he said straight away. But obviously, he does tend to change his mind a little bit. Move horses around, but it'd be interesting certainly to see where he does go, whether he does go jumping fences or not. But if he went to the Champion Hurdle, could be some race next year, couldn't it?
With Vauban, I think if Willie's got Vauban potentially going Champion Hurdle. I think that's what Richie was saying. It's just an interesting fight. I think it should go Turners, and especially with age, and if he's going to go for the Gold Cup at 9, but I can't think what other route it could go, but don't know. But no, it was just so going off course there, but no, very impressive, OJ. I was very pleased. Good start.
Good. And Mark,
I
Strike Life
thought
was a fancy, was it?
Yeah, he was. But I think Sir Gerhard in this race was a little bit lucky that he jumped poorly at Leopardstown, or I think he'd have been in the Supreme if not. I think they came here to give his jumping a little bit more time, but his jumping in his first race and this race was impeccable. And if he jumped like this at Leopardstown in the Deloitte, he would have gone to the Supreme, I think. And I think they probably would have lost the Supreme to Constitution Hill, but by jumping poorly at Leopardstown, they took him to the Ballymore to give him more time. And I think that probably meant he got a win at Cheltenham rather than possibly a second place to Constitution Hill. He was fantastic on the day. He's a really good horse. Obviously, he's a horse that frustrates me. He's killed me now. He beat Kilcrap last season in the bumper where I thought Townend was rotten. And then he's beaten Three Stripe Life here, who's a horse close to me. I thought Three Stripe Life ran really well, but he doesn't respect his hurdles enough. He loses ground at hurdles because he just seems to plough through them. I think fences could be the making of him. It would be nice to see him win a top grade one because he's thrown the race away against Matty Potter, making a mistake at second last, and then he's come up against a really good horse in Sir Gerhard twice now. I think Sir Gerhard is a possible champion hurdler. He's always been a good horse. When he was in Gordon's Yard, they used to rave about him, and he's unbeaten since he went to Willie Mallon's. Well, no, he lost the bumper at Panterstown, but I think he was probably over the top a little bit by then, and the exertions of the champion bumper before that probably got the better of him. So I think Sir Gerhard's a very good horse going forward. I think it'd be a great champion hurdle with him, Constitution Hill and Honeysuckle in it. I think at his age, it's going to be, they have to go over fences right now if they're going, or just go for the champion hurdle. For me, I would try him in the champion hurdle. But of course, Willie Valance has got Bob on, like you've said. But I think on the day, there's no doubt that Sir Gerhard was a vastly superior horse on the day. And I think that's possibly why Three Stripe Life may go to Aintree rather than Punchestown to try and pick up a grade one where he doesn't have to face the top Irish novices. He ran a good race, but he has to respect his hurdles a bit more than he does. But yeah, Sir Gerhard was by far the best horse in the race. Journey with Me will be a good 3 mile chaser, and I'm not convinced this was his true running. He was one of Henry's. I never felt like he was going to win the race, although he was running a good race. I never felt he'd win. And I think he'll be better next season over fence.
That's interesting stuff. Could be some champion hurdle next year, couldn't it? Wow. Lovely. Okay, race 2 on day 2, the Brown Advisory Novices Chase. Won by L'Empresse. Mark, what did you think of that?
He was really impressive. I think he got his ground. I think the ground on the Wednesday sort of spoiled the racing a little bit because you never knew how some horses were going to take the ground. I thought the home press was very impressive on the day. I think Ahoy Senor is possibly the horse to take out of it because on a stiffer track over 2.5 miles spur there, if he gets his jumping together, I think he could be a Gold Cap horse. He'll have to get his jumping together. He can't jump like that and win a Gold Cap. But I think on a stiffer track, possibly if he can sort his jumping out a little bit, a year older, I think he could be a very good horse going forward, Ahoy Senor. Possibly he could turn this form round. The home press, you've got to be very impressed with Benicia Williams producing this horse to win at the lower tracks and then progress all the way through to winning a race like this. It was a strange thing for Willie Mallons to go with Galloping de Champs into the Turners to put Startler into the National Hunt Chase and leave himself with only Gallard de Menil to run in here and Capodanno. I think Gallard de Menil has progressed this season. I wouldn't be surprised to see him going into that race, that Asterion for Launch one of top weight at Punchestown. I think that possibly could be where he goes, although he's gone up a lot in the weight. I thought he ran an okay race. He seems to be getting better and better as he's progressed this season. And I think it's quite a good race going forward. Would I back the home press for the Gold Cup? Probably not. I'd possibly look to Ahoy Senor at a bigger price. But yeah, it was a decent Brown Advisory, but I do wonder why Mallons took his top guns out of this race. Is it because of what happened with Monkfish? Is he going to move away from the RSA now? Because Monkfish, there's a lot of people that will say that this race ruins horses. For the future, you look at Top of the Game, you look at Monkfish. I know people will point towards Champ and Manila Endo's race, but there are plenty of horses, if you go back through the years, that presenting Percy that have come out of this race and not progressed to the Gold Cup like you would expect them to. So I do wonder if that's why Malon's pulled his horses out of this, his top horses out of this race. But yeah, you have to be impressed with the front three in the race.
Okay. Ian.
Yeah, it's just funny. Before I start with what Mark just said, I think Galopin Des Champs, one of the reasons, and I think was he concerned about his age, saying that maybe the step up at his age might be a bit too soon, and that's why potentially they went to the Turners. So yeah, it's interesting what you just said about that and the trip and that sort of thing. But no, it was quite interesting. I've lost my train of thought now. So I was saying about Galopin Des Champs, and that was I originally wanted him to come here, but I say unfortunately went to the Turners. I did like the look of 300 through 5, but come 6 in the end. It didn't really run much of a race at all. I think after 3 out was totally outpaced and dropped back. I have to admit I did have a little wager on Long Presse at the track there, so I was cheering him on it. And I'd say Mark said that he got his ground, and it was a brilliant ride by Charlie Deutsch. But Gala de Menil, I was quite impressive as well, coming third, only about 4.5 lengths behind the winner. But yeah, so just disappointed with 300 through 5, and Long Presse, it could be an interesting one for the Gold Cup next year. But say I think we'll need to have maybe another 1 or 2 graded wins to be classed as a contender, especially with the winners and the riders in the Gold Cup this year. But no, could be one for next year. But yeah, so pleased in a way, but disappointed with 300 through 5. But just to point out as well about, I think the race got a bit tarnished with what Paul Nicholls pulling out Brave Man's Game to do with the ground, and the horses won on soft ground. So I think that was just, I think he being a bit silly, I think, and threw his toys out the pram. But yeah, daft really, if you ask me.
There's quite a bit of controversy around the ground, wasn't there, because of the watering and.
Yeah, I know, and the weather was terrible, but I think he could have still run there and run some sort of races. It was soft. I know the ground got worse as the day went on, but I think he could have still run and run some sort of race. But that's just me.
Okay, John, you were already quite sweet on the Hoy Senior, weren't you?
Yeah, and like Mark did before, I mean, he needs to brush up his jumping. I mean, the engine's there, isn't it? He's obviously got a lot of talent, but he just makes too many little mistakes. I mean, he was going well, and then I think he made a mistake at 5 out where he lost a couple of lengths, and then he clattered 3 out, and that was his race over, really. But even then, he still got back into the race, like, you know, and it just shows what an engine he has got. But if he's going to win these type of races, you can't afford to make those sort of mistakes. I mean, the winner was gaining lengths, you know, at every fence, Long Press, and you know, he thoroughly deserved his win. He was foot perfect, like, and I was pleased for Charlie Deutsch really more than anything. I mean, he's had a lot of stuff going on, hasn't he, over the past few years, and this season he's been fantastic, you know, and he deserved a win here. But the other horses, like Ian said, were a little bit disappointing when they sort of Capodanno and 300 through 5. I noticed Duzart won at the weekend, so he's already franked the form a little bit, hasn't it? Because he was in this as well. And yeah, the only other thing was Gaillard de Menil. I agree with the guys again. I thought he ran a nice race, and he has steadily improved through the season. So be interesting to see if he does go for that race Mark mentioned, and you know, may have a few quid on him in that one. So yeah. It was a good race, but you know, it's a shame about Brave Man's Game pulling out. And I mean, on the ground, I think it was Paul Townend after the Champion Chase. He said that it wasn't heavy. He said the horses are going through it fine, like, you know, it wasn't sticky or heavy, really heavy. So I'm sure he could have ran Brave Man's Game. To be honest, just I don't know. I mean, it's his horse at the end of the day, and they know best, but. I just thought it was being a little bit petty, like, really, to be honest with you. But there we go. It's done now, isn't it? We won't know. So, yeah, the winner did it well, OJ.
And Venetians tend to like the soft ground, don't they?
Yeah, they do. Yeah, they do. And they're always pretty well schooled, aren't they? So, he jumped well.
Excellent. Coral Cup, very competitive. I don't think any of us could believe it.
I can't.
50 to 1.
The amount of times we've backed Commander of Fleet over the years, especially with our friend Connor, who tipped us, I forget when it first ran. Well,
yeah.
Was it 2 or 3 years ago? I can't remember what race it was in. And it come Albert Bartlett, wasn't it? I think. And it comes second or third.
Yeah.
It was Albert Bartlett. But yeah, I left it alone. It's still in my tracker. When it
Mine
won, I was
too.
like, oh my God. Bloody figure 50 to 1. Oh.
I'm not, after booming here, but I did actually back it at Navan before Christmas, and it went at 40 to 1.
Oh.
Just because of Connor's old comments. So, yeah. A bit of a kick in the teeth, that one.
Oh.
It was.
Yeah.
Matty backed him like at 50s, and I backed him to place only and didn't do the win part of it.
Oh,
I was like, he was 10 to 1 to place, so I threw a few quid at that, and I got the place part and didn't back the win part. I was absolutely fuming.
Go on, Mark, you can't be doing that, can you?
The funny thing was that I did my daily preview and I had no bets for the Wednesday when I did the daily preview, and I talked about the Coral Cup and I said, I fancied to Archdale Bob and Commander of Fleet. And then when I went to do my bet video later that night, I was trying to dig out a bet in the Grand Annual, and I was going to put up Archdale Bob. And so I managed to dig out Il Ridotto and Archdale Bob. And I didn't really fancy Il Ridotto. But anyway, I put the 2 small bets on them. And I should have just gone with the 2 bets I had in the Coral Cup on Commander of the Fleet and Archdale Bob. And I did back, and I know it sounds like after timing, but I mean, you can go back through the daily video and see that I did fancy Commander of the Fleet, and I did back them both. But for my videos, I would have made a colossal profit if I'd put Commander of the Fleet in instead of Il Ridotto. But I wanted to have 2 chances in 2 different races, so I went for Il Ridotto. I was just gutted. But this was a strange race, though, wasn't it? Nothing got in it from behind.
No.
And I think a horse to take out the race, and he was a bit unlucky as well, was Fast or Slow, because he'd clearly been laid out for this race, and he looked like he was going to win. And somehow Commander of Fleets outstayed him, just slightly up the hill. I thought Campron ran a good race in this as well, and he's a horse to look out for in a handicap somewhere, because I think the ground caught him out. But yeah, I was a bit gutted after this race. I hadn't put a bet up on Commander of Fleet, but I thought the horses out the back that got poor rides, because they were never in the race, and they were never in it. I thought Archdale Bob ran a tracking race actually, and I thought Jack Foley maybe went a little bit too early on him, but he's a £7 claimer, and it was a race at Cheltenham, and he was out in front already, and he probably just thought he had the horse under him because it had come third against Royal Kahala last time out over 3 miles. He probably thought he had the horse to stay there. But I thought this was a race where the ones in front just got away and nothing got into it from behind.
Interesting you're saying there about fast or slow. I think the Mull Ryans had 3 runners on the day and all placed at nice prices. They had that, what do you want in the Ballymore? Fast or Slow here, and then James's Gate.
Oh yeah, in the bumper
as well. So, and they were all good double figure prices, I think.
Yeah, they were. Yeah, would have been a nice each way treble, that wouldn't it?
Oh, yeah. John, anything else to add?
A bit like what Mark said, it was a really strange race. Like he said, there was just, all my horses seemed to be held up at the back, especially Grand Noir. It was backed into 12 to 1, I think, from 18s in the morning. So I thought, well, the money's down on him. He could run a race, a good race here. And he was just not in the race. He was literally out the back all the way through and just never made any headway. But I think a third of the field actually pulled up. I think there was only I'm sure there was. I was trying to count it yesterday, and there was a third pulled up.
Yeah, eight. I've just counted. Yeah. 8 pulled up.
8 pulled up, and like Mark said again, I had 2 to take out the race. One was Camprond, which he mentioned, and I thought Gowell Road ran quite well as well. I think on better ground, both of those 2 will be better horses. So I think Commander of Fleet just likes that ground, doesn't he? And he's a sort of horse that run one good race, 2 stinkers, then he'll run another good race, and it's trying to catch him right. But yeah, it was a great finish, but yeah, unfortunately, not many got into it really.
Okay. So we move on to the Queen Mother Champion Chase, big bet of the big race of the week, big race of the day, and of course the rematch. And again, slight disappointment for people in here, I'm sure. Ian, go on. You've been a big Shishkin fan all along.
We thought, because the weather was absolutely terrible when we got there, we thought, right, we're gonna stand out in the absolutely pouring rain and watch Shishkin, and then jump one fence, and then that was it. It was beat. And then so we the original thought that it was the ground. I think it must have been heavy by then. I know what John said about some of the jockeys said it wasn't quite heavy, but it may not have suited Shishkin and probably would have suited an Ergamine better, which it did. But yeah, just say jumped 1 or 2, and you could see it was tailed off the back, and I don't think it started that well anyway. And it was well beat. And I know since then we found out today that Henderson's come out and said there's a bone issue, like a rare issue he's got with different spots in his legs. I think with all 4 legs, so that's his season over. But it was a bit disappointing. Because I love the horse, but pleased for an Ergamine to turn the tide. I think it was done and dusted once Chucken unseated. But yeah, poor Patrick don't seem to have much luck on Chucken Boursois. But yeah, I think once that was done, I think it was game over. And Ergamine wasn't going to get beaten. Yeah, a good win for Townend in the end. But yeah, it's a shame that we didn't get the rematch we wanted.
Yeah, I thought Energamine was pretty impressive, to be honest.
It was. I was impressed.
Yeah, Mark.
8 lengths he won by, I think, in the end.
I think it was pretty comfortable as well.
Yeah, very.
Yeah, what do you reckon, Mark?
I was a bit of an anticlimax, wasn't it? Really, I just thought Energamine was strange, different tactics, wasn't it? He started at the back. He didn't actually go on this time. I think they were maybe going to make a mid-race move, but obviously Shishkin coming out the race and then Shakan falling, they didn't really need to. The race was virtually over as soon as those 2 came out of it. I thought without those 2 in it, it was a very poor race. But Energamine was incredibly impressive. He jumped really well, but he didn't really beat much after those 2 came out the race. Yeah, I'm sure people who backed Energamine aren't really too fast that he never beat much, but and it's hard to see if Edward Stone's going to come into this division. You know, what's going to come into this division to challenge like Shishkin and Energamine next season. You don't really see a whole lot coming through that's going to challenge them. So I would imagine it'll be a bit of a rematch next season. I wouldn't imagine that Henderson will be taking Energamine on before it. That may have been a little bit of a mistake to go to Ascot. You know, was that hard race part of the reason Shishkin ran poorly? Who knows? But yeah, I would imagine it'll be a rematch next season, but it'll be at Cheltenham, certainly not at Ascot. But Energamine was good on the day, but it was a bit of an anticlimax for me. That's what I thought of this race.
Again, watching it here at home, I mean, they grabbed hold of Nicky quite soon after the race, and he was clearly disappointed and spoke to them, but he said he knew within yards of the start that Shishkin just wasn't going. And after one fence, he knew all along. And the bloke was close to tears being interviewed. You could see it, but yeah, he said he knew. John, disappointment?
Well, I mean, yeah, I'm a big fan of Energamine, and I've backed him like all the time, but I just thought Shishkin would do him again, to be perfectly honest. But like Mark said, I mean, you know, I think that Ascot race probably took more out of him than maybe they realised, to be honest with you. I mean, I don't buy into this ground lot because he's raced on this type of ground before. And if you watch the race back, he jumps the first fence and he's already been niggled along. And he's been niggled along and basically until he's pulled up. So he obviously wasn't on the going day, whatever it was. But, you know, if it's the ground, you're not going to be niggled along after just the one fence, are you? You know, you're going to be halfway round where you might start struggling. But he was struggling from the get-go and he just wasn't right, was he? But, you know, it's a shame, really, because what was supposed to be like one of the big matches of the week, it turned into a bit of a procession, didn't it? Put the kettle on just has thrown in the towel, and obviously she's, you know, retired now, isn't she, to be a mare, like. But I think last year's race did for her, to be honest. She had a tough race last year, and maybe that sort of finished her off. Funambule Savola ran a reasonable race in second, but he was never going to win, was he? So, you know, he'll probably run in he'll be top weight in some handicap, probably pop up at some point. But yeah, like the guys say, it's probably going to be the two at the top next season as well, and hopefully they're kept apart and kept fresh for a rematch next year.
I was just looking at the field, funny enough. It's saying put the kettle on, say, as you say, he's going to go to stud or go to mare, however you describe it. Say Chacken will be 11. Will it run here? Maybe not. Politolog is 11 now, going on 12. Envoy Allen, don't know about Envoy Allen. So, and that leaves maybe 2 or 3. So there will be new contenders who will just be interested to see who there will be in the coming next season. But yeah, I don't think you'll see much past the top 2.
Agree.
Okay. And we move on to the cross country and the fairy tale that was Tiger Roll.
Oh.
I thought ran a cracking race, to be fair, in the ground.
Well, considering Michael O'Leary before the race, we watched it in the Centaur, had the big screen, and he'd written, as soon as the rain come down and the ground was heavy, he'd written Tiger Roll off. And to run the way he did, I know he was beaten, what was it, 3/4 of a length in the end, was an unbelievable. I think the place was just cheering for Tiger Roll, and the booze at the end was a bit, I don't know, it was a bit weird. And I've never known anyone, the horse ever being booed to come back, but and people to call for Jack Kennedy for Tiger Roll to go past, but you could see he was determined to win. But yeah, it really surprised me. Say Delta Work, and it's you could say it's the classy horse of the race. Went going in Gold Cups and RSAs previously, but yeah, it really surprised me. So the one I bet was Diesel D'Allier, come 4th in the end. I think it weakened about 2 out, but I was still quite pleased with the run. But yeah, it was a funny atmosphere, I think, after Delta Work winning. But no, it was a good run by Tiger Roll, unexpected, but especially with the ground, and it was good to see that he had a good send off in the end, and having a lovely retirement. But no, it was one of the better races of the day. It was got everyone off their seat and cheering, and
yeah, but it was a good finish.
It was an amazing finish, amazing. But yeah, it was Delta Work could be one to. I think, is it going in the national? Could be one. Yeah, it might be top weight, but it could be one. As you say, it surprised me. Could be the Gigginstown one for the national, but no, it was a spectacle, as you would say. It was a good race.
Right ahead of the market for the national, I think, isn't it?
Yeah, top. Yeah, but again, it could be. It's won this. Could it go and win the national? But we'll see. We'll see at the weekend.
John, what did you make of it?
Yeah, well, I mean, there's not a lot really to add to what Ian says. I mean, it's like Jack Kennedy was some sort of pantomime villain at the end, wasn't it? Stuff. But
I think he was actually laughing at it, wasn't he?
Yeah,
he was
I was actually fuming at the time, but when I sort of got away from the race and thought about it, I thought, well, you know, at the end of the day, he's doing his job, and people have got money on him to win as well. So, you know, he's there to race, isn't he? He's there to win races, and it's a shame Tiger couldn't do it, but the better horse just won on the day, and maybe that rain on the last couple of furlongs where they actually go up the hill maybe caught Tiger out, because the rest of the cross-country course, they were saying that the ground isn't as bad on there, is it? So maybe it just caught him out and just blunted his speed a little bit at the end. But yeah, they both ran well, and the best horse won on the day. And as for the rest of them, they're just not very good, are they? To be honest with you.
Just in third, the third horse is 21 lengths behind the two.
They're just not very good, a lot of them. You know, that race seriously needs some new blood as well for next season, you know, as well as a champion chase, doesn't it? Because Delta Work will win it by twice that distance next year, probably, you know, unless anything comes through in the meantime. But yeah, it was a good win for Delta.
Mark, did you enjoy it?
I would have liked Tiger Roll to win, but I'll tell you what I was thinking afterwards. They watered the track before the Wednesday racing in the deluge, and the only part of the track that wasn't watered was the cross-country track. And the whole race, Tiger Roll looked like he was going to win. And then all of a sudden he got onto the watered ground that had been rained on top of, and he stopped up the hill. And I just wondered, I think he would have won if they hadn't watered the track, to be honest. And he ran an unbelievable race. And actually, there was no way Jackson wasn't going to try, because Delta Work had been hugely backed down from the moment people found out that he'd started going on the cross-country track. And he was probably well backed, probably say from 12-1 down to 5-2 joint favourite, you know, over the month before the race. So there was a lot of money Ante-Post on Delta Work to win. Tiger Roll's just been an unbelievable horse, and he just proved it again. And the only thing I wonder about Tiger Roll is why O'Leary's been so silly about the Grand National, just to prove his point about the handicapper. I mean, the horse ran to 3/4 of a length against a Grade 1 winner in that race off levels. So clearly his handicap mark, considering he's got such a good record at Aintree, is correct. So what was the point in making the stand against the handicapper when his handicap mark is correct? Because he's running Grade 1 horses to 3/4 of a length. And I'd have just loved to have seen him give it a try on Saturday. Obviously, O'Leary wasn't never going to let that happen. But he went out in his shield. He's won at Cheltenham 5 times, and he'll be one of the greats of National Hunt racing, really, to win that amount of times in 2 nationals as well. But yeah, it was a great race. But Delta Work was just slightly the better horse on the day. But if they hadn't watered, I think Tiger Roll would have won.
Yeah, I agree with that about the national mark. You know, why not just give him, you know, he's still well handicapped, isn't he, off that mark? You might as well just throw him in that race, mightn't you? Just give him one more go and try and get the 3 up. Like, you know, I don't understand what they're doing really with it. But there you go. They make the decisions, don't they, again? So
That's Mr. O'Leary for you.
Yeah. Never mind.
Okay, Johnny Anderson Grand Annual. Mark, you mentioned it on the day you were looking for one in here.
Yeah, and it was stupid to look for one in here because it didn't look a great race. And I suppose you could have gone for Global Citizen if you looked 2 years back, but really he looked like a flat track horse who bullied horses over flat tracks on easy tracks like Kempton. And I could not see him winning in deep ground up the hill at Cheltenham. I found this race quite difficult to work out because Andy Dufresne looked like he needed 2 miles forward, and yet Global Citizens outstayed him up the hill. A lot of horses got pulled out of this race. This was a really hard race to assess for me. I couldn't make head nor tail of it, to be honest, and I'd rather leave it to others to analyse because for me this was a very strange race. I find it straight. I found it strange when it was on the other course, but at least it was stiffer because all you've got is this helter-skelter 20-runner race where everything's going as fast as it can over every fence. And now they've taken it into the inner course where it's even worse. And there's just carnage going on in the race. So I couldn't make much of this race, to be honest. But I'm surprised that Andy Dufresne couldn't win this, really, considering how heavily he was backed. He was obviously laid out the race. and he still couldn't win it. So maybe Global Citizens had a wind up, or something's been tweaked, and he's a different horse. But it was a strange result for me.
Yeah. A multitude of horses pulled up again, I think. John?
Yeah, I think there was 5 pulled up in this one, and a few others were pulled out, including My Choice, which was before midnight, didn't get a run because of the ground. I think half the horses that went off didn't handle the ground. Nothing really got into it from the back again, a bit like the Coral Cup. Like Mark said, I thought Andy Dufresne was the winner all over the way he was travelling, and I was really surprised that Global Citizen found that turn of foot up the hill, because I was the same. I thought he was more of a flat track horse, and and he just seemed to, I don't know, find another gear from somewhere. He's another horse that I don't really get as well. I could never seem to catch him right, but yeah, it's a race that I probably need to watch back to see if there's anything to take out of it. But I really don't think there was. From watching it live, I just didn't really get into the race myself either.
Okay, Ian.
Yeah, similar to, I think the two when we've done our preview videos that I picked out, one was Course Sublime that went and ran in the Arkle, and obviously was a bad choice. And similar to Johnny, I picked before midnight, and I don't think it was declared or pulled out, but I just had to look at my phone to see what I backed on the day, and one was Hasanki, which comes 6th, and I think that was purely because of the ground. He had got quite a lot of good form on heavy ground, and similar to the Venetia horse, the Ferrero Bamboo was a heavy going horse as well that come 3rd, and I think I had that. I think it was a bigger price and got backed in to 6-1 from the off, but so literally I didn't take much out of the race, but sadly the 2 that I picked originally didn't run, and I picked a couple of horses on the day, but nothing really to write home about or that I was pleased with. But yeah, it was a funny race, and another 28-1 big winner on the day.
It was a tough day, wasn't it?
Yeah,
that watering did have the effect.
Yeah.
On things that we're speculating about, but it was a tough day. Okay, and the day finished off with the champion bumper. Mark, our special guest, I'll let you finish us off. The head-to-head between Facile Vega and American Mike.
I know that in Calantra they fancied American Mike sat in Chronic, and he ran a fabulous race. And this Facile Vega must be some horse. To beat him that easily and to come through the traffic he came through to win that easily was an incredible performance, really. It's going to be really interesting to see where he goes and how they campaign Facile Vega. It's clear American Mike's going to probably go 2 mile 5 next season, at least, maybe even 3 miles, probably over fences before he goes to 3 miles. But he's a very good horse. He's held in the highest regard, and he's been absolutely annihilated by Facile Vega, who's run an unbelievable race. And all the Malins horses were behind as well, James's Gate. And the 4th horse, I can't remember its name, sadly, and that's shocking, but he ran a really good race as well. James's Gate obviously will be a Ballymore horse with his connections sponsoring the race. So he's going to go Ballymore next season. American Mike's probably going to go on the Ballymore. I would still take American Mike to beat him over hurdles, but you never know how they're going to progress over hurdles. But this Facile Vega has to be some horse to produce that performance. I think if you want any horse out of Wednesday, for me, it was this performance. I thought it was a stunning performance to win this easily against a horse who is seriously well regarded. And you'd have to take him as a serious horse for next season. The ground had deteriorated by then. There possibly is horses in behind who didn't like the ground and are possibly better than they showed on the day. But for me, it was Facile Vega was unbelievable because American Mike is a really good horse.
Facile Vega might not have even been too keen on the ground himself as well.
Oh. So the ground by then, so when it was absolutely hideous, and I think from what I remember being there, I think when they took some of the hurdles out, they had to delay some of the racing and put either sand down or something to plug some of the gaps where the hurdles had been. And even then, it was it looked hideous to see Patrick Mullins when he come back was covered in mud, like head to toe. But yeah, so I've jumped in there, OJ. Sorry.
No, not at all.
Yeah.
Not at all.
But no, I was Facile Vega was really impressed me. I'd say echo what Mark said. I think you might see the top two now. I think you might see the Supreme winner and the Ballymore winner next year. They were mightily impressive. So I was quite fortunate to back both at quite big prices. American Mike, I think me, Matty and Johnny backed him, I think, like mate in the summer, I think it was. And then when the noise started coming out with this dinner that the Willie Mullins had, saying he had something special, and I think I got about 16 to 1 or 18 to 1 then, and the price just crashed as soon as the news came out and Facile was given the name. But it was some runners. So just to what you said about the ground, and I don't think Facile probably wouldn't have preferred heavy ground, but it was some horse, some hearse, as Mick would say. But those top two, even to the Seabank Bistro was the one that was fourth, Mark, another Mullins horse. But I did hear someone say that potentially you could see Facile Vega going to Supreme, American Mike and the Ballymore, maybe St James's Gate in the Albert Bartlett. So you could see the three and then go like their separate ways, and potentially could win all three. But those two were outstanding. It was a good race, but Facile Vega's going to be something special, I think.
Yeah, John, you had both covered, didn't you?
Yeah, I mean, it's a nice sight when you see travelling like a dream. A couple of furlongs out, and you're on the 20s and 33s, I think I was. So, I did pick Mike for the purpose of the video, and he ran a belting race, but obviously Facile Vega was something else, and on that ground, what he did was just phenomenal, wasn't it? You can't knock that, and they got the winner. But like the guys say, James's Gate will be another one to take out of it, and it'll probably prove to be a very, very good race. The fun now is working out where they're all going to go again, isn't it? Like guys have also said, it'd be nice if they were all split up, but I'm sure some of them will probably come across each other during next season. I mean, especially the Mullins ones, isn't it? It's the Mullins bingo starts all over again, isn't it? With his but yeah, it was. I enjoyed that race. It was a cracking race. Good way to end the day, and on that ground, it was just a great performance. So yeah, he's definitely one to take out of the Wednesday. You can't really argue about that.
I've got to let you know, because it's not like me being useless, but I've actually had one Ante-Post bet for next year, and I've had to go on James's Gate for the Ballymore at 12s.
Oh, you should be saving that for the Anti-Post videos, then, shouldn't you?
Yeah.
Well, it's got no hope now. I've said that.
Spoiler alert.
Yeah. No, I thought he ran a good race. Finished very nicely.
He did, yeah. He did.
He
only had one run as well prior to that. He had one or two, yeah. So it was a very good performance as well. You want to keep on the right side of all three of them next season, without doubt.
Right. So before we say our thank yous and goodbyes, apart from Facile Vega, what else caught your eye on day two, Mac?
What's a tough one?
Tough day.
Not really a whole lot, I wouldn't say, on day two. It wasn't. I have to say, that I thought Sir Gerhard was really impressive, considering he hadn't jumped well in his previous race, I thought. And I think that was quite a good race. People are sort of down the Ballymore a wee bit because the Supreme looked so strong. But I think Sir Gerhard was very impressive as well. He jumped really well. He pulled hard, and he still had quite a lot left in the locker. I think if Three Stripes Life had got closer, he would have pulled out more. So I think he is a very good horse, much as he's upset me a couple of times now, beating me. I think he is a very good horse, and I think he would be well worthy of his place against Constitution Hill and Honeysuckle. And I think he could even give them a good race and perhaps beat them.
That'd be some race to look forward to, that. Wow. John, Ian, takeouts, anything else?
It's got to be Sir Gerhard for me as well, really. It's not original, but, on a day where, you know, a lot of the fields didn't even finish, and the ground went against them totally. Then, you know, Sir Gerhard was very impressive, and I know it was the first race where the ground was probably at its best during the day, but he's definitely, him and Facile are the ones to take out day 2, definitely for me.
Ian, likewise.
Yeah, it's a Gallard de Menil could be one. So it's only 6 going on to 7. It'd be quite interesting to see whether he goes Gold Cup or another route. But yeah, I think it could be one to keep an eye on. But yeah, Sir Gerhard was the other obvious one. Non Presse, I think, may need to win a couple of the big graded races coming up for next season if it's going to be like a big Gold Cup contender. But you know, there may be Gallard de Menil, I think, could be the one to put new trackers and keep an eye on.
Lovely. Right, so all that's left to do, Mark, thank you very much indeed for
Thanks,
giving
Mark.
us the honour of
Pleasure.
joining us and sharing your expertise. It's been really valuable.
There's not much expertise, but thanks very much for inviting me on. And anytime you lads need someone to come on, just give us a shout. But thanks very much for inviting me on.
I really appreciate it.
Thank you, Mark.
Thank you, and thank you all for watching, and keep liking and all that. And hopefully we'll be back soon with some new content and a review of day 3 and 4.